The average college debt is about $30,000. The average down payment on a starter home is a little bit more than that. So what advice can you give a child who's starting at a lifetime of being saddled with a colossal debt? Well, according to the Ramsey family, teach them to start saving while they're young.
If we were mature...
Rachel Cruze says she was born at the perfect time, the year her parents declared bankruptcy. She's the daughter of financial expert Dave Ramsey. Instead of seeing her parents lose everything, Rachel got to see them rebuild. In the process, they taught her and her siblings how to manage money. In Smart Money, Smart Kids, Rachel uses that same knowledge and experience from growing up in the Ramsey household to help educate parents on raising kids who are smart with money and live debt-free.
Rachel Cruze is here with us now. Rachel, thanks for being part of our program today. You know, sometimes something negative happens in our lives, like your parents experienced with their bankruptcy, but it turns into something really amazing if we listen to what God's trying to teach us through it.
Exactly.
You grew up without having an allowance. In fact, your dad actually hated that word. What's up with that?
Yes, I know. Well, yeah, we were never given an allowance. We were always on commission in the Ramsey house. So you work, you get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. And so from early on, we understood the connection between work and money. And Dad didn't care for the word allowance because it was almost saying to your kids, you know, your kids are deficit and you have to make up for them. But Mom and Dad did the opposite and said, no, you have the dignity to complete a task. And some of those tasks you're going to do because you love your mom and you're going to just help out because you're part of the family. But some of those tasks, those chores, we're going to pay you on them. So we were on commission, not allowance.
You take a message of a lot of this wisdom about finances to young people today. What you just said is very, very true, but it also means we don't just get, we have to do something to get it. How's that message being received?
You know, it's being received really well. I kind of look at my dad as the emergency surgeon, and I'm the preventative medicine. So the earlier you can learn how to handle money, and that foundation of work is key. And so for parents, you know, parents love the message. You know, teenagers are always a little reluctant. They always kind of look at me, but they want to know how to handle money. You know, they haven't been taught. It's not taught in schools necessarily. It's not necessarily taught in church.
Not in reality, it's not.
Yeah, so for parents, it's a big task for them.
When you were very little, your family went to, was it Opryland? And you learned a lesson there. Talk about that a little bit.
I did, yes. Opryland was a theme park that used to be in Nashville. And so as kids, we would go and we had our little envelope that we could spend on the carnival games. And so Dad warned us, Mom and Dad told us before we went that, you know, once you spend the money, it's gone. You can't ask us for any more money. And I'm the spender of the Ramsey kids. So I walked in and immediately spent all my money in, 30 seconds. And I remember Dad saying, and I begged them, can I please have more money? I think I even may have said, I'll pay you back later. So I asked Dave and Sharon Ramsey for a loan at 5 years old, which is not a good thing. And I remember Dad saying, Rachel, when the money's gone, it's gone. Yeah. And I learned instantly that money's finite. Money has limits. Money has boundaries. And I'm so thankful that my parents weren't a human ATM at that point, just handing me money.
Well, they were early on sort of teaching you what many call the envelope system. I know my husband grew up in a household with that. Talk about what that system is, and you have kind of a fresh take on that with fewer envelopes and a simpler system.
Sure. Well, for adults, it's where you take your budget and find categories that you tend to overspend on, like food or clothes, and you cash out that and you put it in an envelope marked food. And so for adults, and I do that, as an adult now, and it works great because when you use cash, you actually end up spending less. Cash is emotional.
Yeah. When the money's gone, the money's gone.
Yeah. And so for your kids, you want to teach them, to work and make money, and then just get 3 envelopes for them and mark them give, save, and spend, because those are really the 3 money muscles that you want to build.
I want to talk a little bit about, we were talking a minute ago about talking to teenagers, but to teenagers and those who are in that very young adult stage. Kids today, you're trying to get a car, you're trying to go to college. Many need to borrow money if they don't have it or feel that they need to. And so kids are saying, we don't have any money. How can we save money? What do you say to them?
Sure. Well, you need to get to work. Yeah, it's a great place to go to make money.
Shouldn't you be somewhere?
Yeah, that's right. Well, so I think our culture has assume that debt has to be a part of your life. And my message is different, to say, you know what, you can pay cash for things. Yeah. So for a car, for a teenager, that may look like a $500 car, but that's okay. If it turns on and it works, that's great. And then for college, if you make smart choices like staying in state or going to a community college, applying for scholarships and grants and working, there is still a way to go to school debt-free. It's a lot of hard work. You have to be very intentional with your time and money, but it is possible.
Yeah. You know, I think there are a lot of people today who feel that debt is inevitable. You know, that for kids, the cost of college today is so exorbitant. And I understand this. You know, at graduation, everybody else is going off somewhere exciting, and you don't want to say you're going to the local community college, but you speak wisely of the fact that there are options available.
Yes, and students don't realize that the decisions they make in those 4 years of their life is going to affect them for the next 20 years of their life. So to be smart, and I kind of ask parents, I challenge parents to say, step aside or step along your 18-year-old. Help them. Don't step aside and back off. Engage with them in this process, because they're 18 years old and they're not going to make wise decisions. They're not always wise at 18. You know, they don't understand the future necessarily. So you really want to help them as parents.
What do you mean by step alongside of them, though? Define that. In what capacity? Are you talking about paying for things for them? Are you talking about teaching them the process of just the whole 9 yards?
Sure, all the above. If you're able to pay for your kids' college, that is a blessing, and I think that is completely fine. And if you're not, that's okay. Don't feel shame or guilt, because college is not an entitlement. So if you can't pay for your kids' college, tell them early and say, maybe when they're a freshman in high school or even a sophomore, and say, hey, mom and dad are not going to be able to help you with college, so we're going to start looking for scholarships and grants right now. You can start very early.
You do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you find applications. We're going to talk about different school options. Yeah, and just talk with them. Have a dialogue, because so many parents say, well, they're 18 years old, they're an adult now, but they're 18 years old.
Really.
So yeah, you want to help them.
Yeah. All of this is in your book, Smart Money, Smart Kids, but you also talk about contentment. Boy, that's a word we don't hear very much in our culture today. Discuss your thoughts on that, please.
This is a very important aspect of money. You have got to learn to be content. And so for parents to teach their kids contentment, I think it comes out of a heart of gratefulness. And so gratefulness, when your kids are grateful, they're more apt to be content. And that can be taught through giving, and to show them, you know, when you live with an open hand, your heart becomes grateful. And also out of gratefulness is humility. Because the opposite of humility is arrogance, and arrogance is where entitlement comes in. So if you can teach them to think what C.S. Lewis says, where he says, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. So teaching humility, that breeds gratefulness, which breeds contentment. And so it's a very emotional part of money, but it's important to have those conversations and those lessons with your kids.
Dave and Sharon did a good job with you.
Oh, thank you. I'll tell them you said that.
Would you do that, please? The book is called Smart Money, Smart Kids, and it's filled with lots of smart information. It's available in stores nationwide, and it's something you really ought to take a look at. If you're raising a family, what a wonderful opportunity to do something that will last a lifetime for your children. Rachel, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Always great to see you.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.